Hello my dears, it is me, the Bee from Super Marcy Super Network, long time no see. So rather than me lollygagging, let's get right into it. Today I'm going to review Fede Alvarez's Don't Breathe, starring Jane Levy and Stephen Lang. So before we go any further, I'm just going to fumble my way through a very brief plot synopsis from the ever-reliable IMDb before we get into it, okay? Great, here we go. Rocky, Alex and Money are three Detroit thieves who get their kicks by breaking into houses of wealthy people. Money gets word about a blind vet who has won a major cash settlement following the death of his only child. Figuring he is an easy target, the trio invades the man's secluded home in an abandoned neighborhood. Finding themselves trapped inside, the young intruders must fight for their lives after making a shocking discovery about their supposedly helpless victim. In other words, they fucked with Stephen Lang. Okay, you do not fuck with Stephen Lang and manage to get away scot-free, no way. This film was a humongous surprise to me, and even though I had a pretty good idea about the general thing the film was going for, it really took me to see the film in order to fully appreciate it. What I love most about Fede Alvarez as a director is even though his films do manage to appease a majority of the horror-going community, his work isn't necessarily steeped in Hollywood tradition, and by that I mean he filmed Don't Breathe in Hungary as opposed to Detroit for cost reasons, to be economically efficient. Now this entire film pretty much came out of nowhere and knocked Suicide Squad off its #1 spot at the cinema, and bravo for that. This is how you make a really compelling thriller. And I know I said horror film in the past, but to me, there isn't much separating the horror and the thriller genre. They kind of intermingle for most part. Look at most horror films that you know today. They all have a sense of a thriller element. And this was absolutely no exception. Now, what I love most about this film is its very, very simple plot line and its guerrilla execution. You don't see enough people who go back to the idea of going back to basics, okay? Things get overly complicated. Shooting schedules get ridiculous, actors just come and go, and the production is everywhere when it comes to Hollywood, made films. But with more modest budget movies, they tend to take very special care in selecting the talent behind it. And not only that, they work with what they have, and that's why the general idea of their stories are incredibly simplistic. Now, truth be told, first thing is first, none of the characters in Don't Breathe are particularly likable because, you have three thieves, okay? People who live in Detroit. And as a friend of mine joked, if you live in Detroit, that's pretty much the only explanation necessary. But the thing is, with these characters, the film doesn't make ham-fisted attempts to make you like them. Nothing about their personality is pandered to you, okay? You see how they are in very stark contrast. And even though the character of Rocky, played by Levy, I think she has the most background to her character, but that doesn't necessarily make her the sort of girl that you would want to see succeed, okay? Look, these three little shitheads are breaking into this old man's home to steal his money, okay? That's a pretty dirty thing to do, and it's very difficult to sympathize with that sort of mindset. But, in accordance to the film, this actually turns the trope on its head, because we all know the concept of the home invasion. The reason why it's so terrifying is you have people who break into your house, breaching your sanctum in your most private of places, and they're terrorizing you. Now, what Don't Breathe does is, it takes this trope and turns it on its head by not necessarily having the threat come from the invaders, but from the resident. And that brings me to Stephen Lang in this film. I love this actor. He is one of my favorites. He always has a very imposing presence about him. And look, this guy is perhaps double, if not triple, our age. And he could totally punch our mouths into our butts, so we would have to sit on something to eat it. The man is ripped, okay? He is in fantastic shape. And you kind of feel a sense of, you know, well, these guys definitely got what they deserved by fucking with this man in this movie. Because the blind man, as the character is mostly known as, even though he's blind, he has something that is perceived as a disability. In all actuality, he is so much more competent than these characters. You know, they broke into his house intending to be the predators, but in reality, they become the prey the moment they realize that this old man isn't as helpless as they thought he would be. And the whole movie is a wonderful cat and mouse game. What I love about Alvarez as a director is that he's not afraid to pull his punches, but even saying that, he never does so without a particular reason. The Evil Dead was a really good example as to how to not only, you know, remake a film, but also give a personal creative spin on the story. And that's what Alvarez did. Like, the third act of The Evil Dead is just so diametrically different, you know, in a couple of senses, I should say. So diametrically different to, you know, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead. And, you know, it had plenty of justification as to why these teenagers are in a cabin in the woods. And the same thing is with Don't Breathe. The character of Rocky, Alex, and Money, they're all desperate for money, basically, for lack of a better term. And, you know, Rocky in particular, she lives a very sort of dysfunctional life with her family. It's not an ideal situation, and what she wants to do, she wants to get herself out of it. And there's really no other way for her to do this than to, you know, stoop to this low denominator and break into this old man's house to steal his cash. And yeah, it's I can safely say that Don't Breathe would have to be one of my top 10 films if I was so inclined to make a list at the end of this year. Because even though it does suffer its own flaws, and, you know, I won't speak too much about this, but a very slight sort of warning here. There is a moment in this film which will either make or break the movie for you. That's all I'm going to say. But in my case, I think it fit tremendously well. It is a moment of shock, it is one of disgust, but it is earned. It's not just placed in there strictly for shock value. And yes, the Don't Breathe happens to be a very tensely wound thriller / horror film, because it's just so predictable. You know, just when you see the blind man like feeling around the house, and those his cataract eyes, just, they can't see anything, but when he knows there's somebody close by, he takes on the persona of a predator. Okay, this is his domain. Okay, this house, this place he lives, and the dark is his realm. And it's just a wonderfully clever and wonderfully simple concept. Not everybody is going to like this film, and that's perfectly okay. But this was a movie that was made to do a job, and its job was to thrill the living fuck out of you, and that's exactly what it succeeds in doing. So I give Don't Breathe a 4 out of 5, a very solid 4. I really can't recommend it enough. In fact, I actually saw it a second time a couple of days ago. That's how much I really did enjoy the movie, because I found on second viewing I was able to appreciate other plot elements more. It's a very, very, you know, closely made and closely constructed horror film that does what it does, and it does so well. And even though, like, the two other male characters of Alex and Money aren't necessarily non-issues, they hardly, you know, offend the rest of the film. With Levy and Lang, that is where the film's true tension lies, and both actors are phenomenal. Like, they're backed up with good material, and they know how to express it. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble, guys, and as usual, I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.